The overall balance of the war between Ukraine and Russia is heavily influenced by Kiev's Western allies. Military aid to the Ukrainian army is changing the course of the war. Especially in terms of trench clashes these days, there have been critical situations regarding the planned shipment of U.S.-made battle tanks to Ukraine. Abrams-type tanks, which are one of the must-have weapon systems for the Ukrainian army to be able to advance effectively in its offensive operation and the offensive it has launched against the invaders, are finally being deployed to the war. As you may recall, U.S. President Joe Biden had opposed the use of Abrams tanks against Russia on the grounds that they were too complex and too difficult to maintain and repair. Since the beginning of the war, the Biden administration and its allies have tried to be careful with arms deliveries so as not to provoke Russia. However, after a series of Ukrainian successes on the battlefield, they began to abandon this cautious approach. The territorial gains of the offensive led to a focus on tanks to help Ukraine fight back. After intense pressure from Ukraine and the international community, Germany announced in January that it would send the tanks. The decision was also part of a wider political maneuver that opened the door for Germany to announce that it would send Leopard 2 tanks to Ukraine, and for Poland and other allies to follow suit. Ukrainian President Zelensky and Ukrainian officials in particular have been pressing the West for hundreds of modern battle tanks with positive results. It was crucial for Ukraine to get the tanks and armored vehicles it wanted, because they will be used to form a brigade-sized strike armored unit to deal a final blow to the occupiers, who have been on the defensive for a long time. Ukrainian President Zelensky announced that U.S.-made M1 Abrams tanks have arrived in his country. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, in a post on his social media account, stated that there is good news from Ukrainian Defense Minister Rustem Umerov, and said that the Abrams are already in Ukraine and are preparing to reinforce our brigades. Zelensky said that I am grateful to our allies for fulfilling the agreements. More tanks will be sent to the region in the coming months, officials said, without specifying the number of tanks delivered. After many Western countries sent tanks to Ukraine, the United States announced that it had sent the first American-made Abrams tanks to Ukraine. It was stated that the tanks were sent to be used in Ukraine's counterattack. More M1 Abrams tanks will be sent in the coming months, officials said, adding that at least 11 of the 31 tanks have arrived in Ukraine, but did not give an exact answer on how many have been delivered so far. Ukrainian soldiers, however, have been trained in the use and repair of the tanks and now expect to be deployed as soon as possible. The mere presence of the Abrams tanks will be an important boost to Ukraine's offensive capability, acting as a powerful deterrent. By having these tanks in its arsenal, the Ukrainian army will be able to respond more effectively to aggressive actions. The provision of Abrams tanks represents a tangible commitment to Ukraine's defense and stability, and underscores U.S. support for partners facing external pressures. There is no doubt that Ukraine has high hopes for what the Abrams can do on the counteroffensive. Other veterans with experience of the Abrams have praised the battle zone for its capabilities on the battlefield, and how it will perform against the Russian tanks in Ukraine, where it was originally designed to fight. Abrams is considered among the best tanks in the world. At the same time, the Abrams is seen as a superb main battle tank, able to withstand hits from enemy fire or from the elements and keep going. The Abrams is also supplied with armor-piercing, fin-stabilized demolition sabot ammunition. Instead of packing some kind of explosive warhead, these rounds fire dart-like penetrators made of depleted uranium or other dense metals. These high-velocity darts literally travel through enemy armor and turn into a semi-molten projectile that penetrates with such force that it burns its way through, scattering fragments in its path and causing extreme damage to the interior and its occupants. So what advantages do the American M1 Abrams tanks offer the Ukrainian army in the ground offensive? The battlefield experience of Ukrainian forces using NATO standard tanks in their counterattacks has undeniably proven their high combat efficiency and crew safety. According to independent data, Ukraine has lost only 5 of the 71 Leopard 2 tanks it has received so far. About 10 have been damaged and are being repaired in EU countries. These figures testify to the high reliability and repairability of Western tanks. More importantly, Leopard 2s have been used to break through Russian defenses, and such operations are known to be very challenging for any armored vehicle. Heavily mined areas and roads within range of Russian artillery impede and often completely block the movement of Western tanks. Now, 31 Abrams tanks are likely to give Ukrainian forces some serious leverage in selected sectors of the offensive. The Abrams M1A1 and the German Leopard 2A4 have the same 120mm guns, and therefore almost identical firepower. The Abrams fires M829A3 armor-piercing shells with depleted uranium cores, capable of penetrating 700mm thick armor at ranges of up to 2,000 meters. Such impressive characteristics threaten even Russia's most advanced tanks, such as the T-72B3, protected by the Contact 5 and Relict dynamic armor. The Ukrainian armed forces are looking forward to using Abrams tanks in offensive operations against Russia's T-90Ms and T-72B3s, relying on their strong armor and high firepower. The U.S. Department of Defense has decided to send an older model of the M1A1 from Army Reserves that can be prepared for faster deployment instead of the previously promised M1A2s. The main difference between the M1A2 and the basic versions of the M1A1 is a more powerful armor protection package and modern electronics. However, the FEP, Firepower Enhancement Program, which increases the range of all-weather, day and night target acquisition and engagement, and AIM-SA, Abrams Integrated Management Situational Awareness versions of the M1A1 currently in service with the U.S. Army have been refurbished.